New York City, Chinatown, 1996. The rain had a way of falling different in Chinatown. It didn't just come down, it lingered. Slid off red lanterns, sloshed in the cracks between cobblestones. Caught cigarette smoke mid-air and held it there like ghosts unsure where to go. Ray Young leaned against the rusted railing outside Lucky Dragon Herbal Pharmacy, collar up, fedora low. He hadn't been to this part of Mott Street in years, not since his father's funeral. The smell was the same, though. Ginger, car exhaust, incense, and old secrets. Inside, the bell above the door chimed. "Mr. Young, they're ready for you." He ground out his cigarette on the brick wall. "I was born ready, just don't always feel like it." The man behind the desk was Henry Wong, mid-50s, pressed white shirt, no visible smile in the last decade. Ray had heard of him. Owned 3 buildings, 2 restaurants, and 1 daughter who had gone missing 5 nights ago. "Her name is Maylin," Wong said. 17, smart, not the type to run. Ray stayed quiet. Let people fill silence with what mattered. Police think she ran off with a boy. But they didn't talk to the teachers, didn't check her room, just assumed. Wong slid a photo across the desk. The girl had thoughtful eyes, black hair braided back, a subtle defiance in her posture. Like she didn't entirely belong in the frame, Ray pocketed it. "I need her school address, friends, places she spent time." Wong's expression didn't change. "You'll get 'em. But I ask only one thing. Let me guess, don't bring shame to the family." Wong leaned forward. "Don't go asking about her mother, or what happened in Guangzhou. It's irrelevant." Ray's brow lifted. "You just handed me a lead wrapped in red paper. I'd be stupid not to pull the thread." "Then don't be stupid, Mr. Young." Maylin attended Harmony Prep, a private school tucked between a Buddhist temple and an overpriced tea house. Ray stood outside the gates, watching students stream out under umbrellas. He spotted a girl, small, sharp eyes, too alert for her age. He approached carefully. "You knew Maylin?" The girl hesitated, then nodded. She liked orchids, painted them in a notebook, said they were strong because they bloomed in air. Ray showed her the photo. "When did you last see her?" "Tuesday. She was talking to someone by the old apothecary, a man, not from here." "Not from here? How so?" He didn't bow. Ray tilted his head. In Chinatown, that meant something. The old apothecary was shuttered, door chained, windows dark, but something about it pulled at Ray. He circled the alley, found the loose panel in the back, typical shortcut. Every building here had a second way in, known only to those who needed one. Inside, the shop was stale with dried herbs and forgotten stories. Empty shelves. A single orchid plant sat by the window. Real, fresh, strange. He knelt. A small charm lay beneath the pot. Circular, gold-threaded. Marked with a symbol he hadn't seen since childhood. The seal of the crossing. Old folk tales his mother whispered. Warnings wrapped in bedtime songs. Don't look too long at the mirror. Don't walk behind shrines. He pocketed the charm. Back at his office in Lower Manhattan, rain tapping the window like it had a score to settle. Ray laid the pieces out. A girl who painted orchids and disappeared. A mysterious man who doesn't bow. A sealed apothecary with a fresh orchid inside. A charm that shouldn't exist, and a father who warned him not to ask about Guangzhou. He opened his desk drawer. Inside was an old Polaroid, his mother, and behind her, the same symbol on the charm. Ray leaned back in his chair, lit another cigarette. "Maylin," he said aloud, "where the hell do you go?" New York City, Chinatown, 1996. Ray Young didn't believe in coincidences. So when he found a charm from his childhood, one tied to old Cantonese ghost stories, beneath a fresh orchid in an abandoned shop, it didn't feel like superstition. It felt like a message. That night, he walked Mott Street with hands in pockets, coat collar up, and questions playing poker in his head. He needed someone who remembered things most people tried to forget. Someone who spoke in whispers, not words. He needed Uncle Quack. Quack's tea house was older than most buildings in Chinatown. It didn't advertise, it didn't close, it didn't serve tourists, only regulars. And Ray had once been one, when he still spoke Cantonese without thinking. The door creaked open. Quack stood behind the counter, folding tea leaves with fingers older than a republic. "I know that look," he said without glancing up. "You chasing shadows again." Ray slid the charm across the counter. Kwok's fingers froze. Where did you get this? Found it in the old apothecary, behind Maewon Wong's last known location. Kwok picked up the charm with reverence, turning it over. This is a gate marker. They used to be placed at the threshold of temples, kept spirits in or out. You ever hear of a man who doesn't bow? Kwok's eyes darkened. You're not looking for a man. You're looking for a door. Ray blinked. Come again? Kwok leaned closer. The Dragon Gate isn't a place. It's a test, a crossing. It shows up when someone tries to walk between worlds. And where do those worlds meet? Where belief still breathes. Shrines, old wells, shadowed alleys. But always in silence. You don't knock, you listen. Later that night, Ray walked the alleys of Chinatown with nothing but a flashlight and intuition. He paused near a mural, an old dragon painted in swirling reds and golds, one of the only pieces untouched by graffiti. Then he heard it, a faint wind not from the street, from behind the wall. He stepped closer. The bricks beneath the dragon shimmered slightly. He pressed his hand against the dragon's eye. Click. A door-scythe outline appeared in the brickwork, a metal handle, golden rusted. He pulled. The wall gave way. The passage was narrow, low-ceilinged, lit by faint paper lanterns, not electric, flame. Symbols lined the walls, the same style as the charm. He moved slowly. The tunnel opened into a chamber, circular, silent. At the center stood a shrine. Candles flickered, though no flame touched them. Above it hung a tapestry with one word in traditional script, crossing. And on the floor, a red ribbon, frayed at the end, like it had been torn from someone's wrist, like from the girl in the photo. Back at his apartment, Ray placed the ribbon on his desk, lit a cigarette, didn't smoke it. He called Cora Lynn, a folklore archivist at the city library. They hadn't spoken since last year. Ray, it's late. You ever hear of a place called the Dragon Gate? Silence. Then why? Because I just walked through it. She exhaled. You need to come in tomorrow and bring everything. As he hung up, a voice whispered behind him. He turned sharply, but no one was there. Only the orchid, still blooming. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. The next morning, Ray Young stood on the steps of the New York Public Library's Chinatown branch, holding a red ribbon and a crumpled charm between two fingers like cursed evidence. Cora Lynn was waiting for him inside, seated at a long table in the folklore archives. She wore round glasses and a gray turtleneck, her black hair pinned back with a chopstick. Stacks of books surrounded her, half of them open to sections marked in faded red ink. You weren't kidding, she said, eyeing the charm. This is old, pre-revolution, maybe King Dynasty. The script is archaic, but the word is clear, gate. Ray sat across from her and slid over the ribbon. Found that under a shrine, tunnel behind the mural. The girls, he nodded, same texture as the bracelet she wore in the school photo. Cora bit her lip. This is more than cultural symbolism. You're dealing with threshold magic, gate rituals. You mean ghosts? She shook her head. Not ghosts, boundaries. There's a belief that between midnight and dawn, there are cracks, places where intention becomes doorway. You sound like my mother. She wasn't wrong. They dug deeper. By noon, they had a stack of translated scrolls, ancient chants, and one photograph of a ritual robe, red silk with black embroidery, similar to the threads Ray saw stitched along the shrine tapestry. Cora tapped it. This shows up in reports of disappearances. Not just here, Shanghai, Taipei, even San Francisco. Always women, always someone crossing. Ray leaned back. So what? Mei Lin's part of a secret cult? No, Cora said, but someone might want her to be. That night, Ray returned to the apothecary. This time, he wasn't alone. He brought a camera and a knife. The tunnel was unchanged, silent, flickering. The shrine still pulsed with an eerie warmth. He photographed everything. Symbols, candles, the tapestry. But something was different. Ash on the floor, burnt silk. Someone had been here. He crouched to examine it, and that's when he noticed the smell. Incense, but not the usual kind. Sweet, thick, cloying, and with it, perfume. Faint, expensive. Smoke and silk, a wispy behind him. He turned. A woman stood just beyond the candlelight, dressed in a modern jacket, but her eyes, they didn't belong to now. You shouldn't be here, she said in Mandarin. Ray responded in kind. Neither should you. You look like her. Who? The girl. She crossed too far. The rope didn't hold. Is she alive? Not all of her. Ray stepped forward, but the candle nearest to her flared, and she was gone. He called out. Nothing but echoes. Then, on the floor, he spotted something new. A silver hairpin, shaped like an orchid. Back at his apartment, Ray laid it next to the charm and ribbon. 3 pieces of a puzzle he didn't yet understand. He stared at the wall for a long time. Then he made a call. Yeah, it's Young. Get me Benny at the Lucky Coin. I need eyes on all the underground temples. Something's moving. He hung up, lit a cigarette, and whispered to the silence. Maylin, I'm coming, wherever you are. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. Sunday brought cold sunlight and uneasy stillness to the streets of Chinatown. The markets were quieter than usual. Fewer firecrackers, fewer elders playing mahjong in folding chairs, as if the whole neighborhood had taken a breath it didn't want to exhale. Ray Young stood in front of a red-painted mailbox outside Harmony Prep School. A janitor had called him early that morning, asking to meet in secret. Inside the school lobby, Mr. Chen, a wiry man with thick glasses, handed Ray a bundle of pale yellow envelopes. They arrived one by one, he said, always addressed to Maylin Wang, but with no return address. Ray raised an eyebrow. You didn't turn them in? I opened the first one. I shouldn't have. After that, I hid them. Ray flicked through them. No stamps. Hand-delivered. You read any more? Chen shook his head. Didn't need to. The first one was enough. Back in his apartment, Ray spread the letters across his desk. 6 total, all written in neat brushstroke Chinese. He lit a stick of sandalwood incense and began translating. Each letter began the same. Dearest Maylin, your name is your anchor. Do not forget it. But the tone grew stranger, desperate, fragmented, like something was unraveling. The wind here smells of iron. I saw your reflection blink. Don't look into mirrors. They keep asking for your name, but I won't give it to them. The ropes are fraying. By the 6th letter, the handwriting had changed. Shaky, angled. I'm not sure I'm still me. Ray called Cora. I've got letters, 6 of them. Someone was trying to help her, or warn her. Where'd they come from? No stamps, hand-delivered. From who? Ray looked out the window. That's what I'm about to find out. He returned to Harmony Prep that afternoon, watching the street from across a steamed-up noodle shop. 4 hours passed. No one touched the mailbox. Then, just before dusk, a figure emerged from a side alley. Teenager, hoodie, gloves, walked with a limp. Ray stepped out. Hey kid, you got a letter? The boy froze. Not police, Ray said. Just looking for Maylin. You know her? The boy slowly pulled a crumpled note from his hoodie pocket. Ray took it, opened it. Only one line. You're not the only one looking for her. Later that night, Benny from Lucky Coin called back. You were right. Something's stirring. Private shrine down on Eldridge. Used to be a speakeasy. Now it's something else. Real hush-hush. Only open at night. Invitations only. Who runs it? No name, but they call her the Orchid Keeper. Ray stared at the silver hairpin on his desk. Orchid-shaped. Address? I'll text it. Bring cash, and maybe a blessing. Ray hung up, loaded a fresh tape into his pocket recorder, and said aloud, One ghost leads to another. Let's see where this trail ends. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. It was just after midnight when Ray Young stood outside the hidden entrance on Eldridge Street. What used to be a Prohibition-era speakeasy now passed for an illegal shrine, though it wore the disguise of a tea house. No windows, red curtain, a brass handle shaped like a lotus. The man at the door was bald, thick-necked, and tattooed up to the jaw. He didn't speak, only nodded after checking the slip of paper Ray handed him. A forged invitation, courtesy of Benny's connections. Inside, the room was warm with candlelight and thick with the scent of jasmine and burnt wax. An altar dominated the far wall, but this wasn't a place for mourning. It felt like a place where secrets came to kneel. People stood in silence. Most were older. Some whispered prayers. Some just stared at the ceiling, as if waiting for something to come through it. And at the center, seated in a low chair, fingers folded in her lap, was the Orchid Keeper. She was young, too young, maybe 20. Long black hair, eyes that flicked to Ray the moment he stepped in. You don't belong here, she said softly. Neither do you, he replied. They spoke in a side room with walls covered in faded calligraphy and old photographs. The Orchid Keeper lit incense before answering anything. You're looking for the girl, Maylin. She disappeared. I think she crossed into something she didn't understand. We never understand it, the woman said. We only decide whether to obey it or challenge it. Ray leaned forward. I found a tunnel, symbols, shrines. She left things behind. Letters, hairpins, and someone's watching me. The woman closed her eyes. Then you've been marked. Ray stiffened. By who? Not who. What? The Painted Man. In Chinatown folklore, the Painted Man was a story told to children to keep them from wandering into alleyways at night. A figure covered head to toe in ink. Silent. Shifting. Said to carry a brush dipped in memory and take names from those who lost them. Ray had dismissed it as a myth. Until now. The orchid keeper opened a drawer and pulled out a scroll. She unrolled it on the table. It was a map. Not of streets, but of spiritual zones. Intersections of energy, gates, rituals, bindings. At the center, a red X. That's where she crossed, the woman whispered. That's where he waits. Ray studied the spot, an old warehouse down near the river, abandoned for decades. He doesn't kill, she said. He reclaims those who wander too far from their names. Then I won't wander, Ray muttered. I'll bring her back. As Ray left the shrine, a figure stepped from the shadows. Tall, silent, covered in black ink, symbols drawn across his skin like armor, eyes like mirrors. Ray froze. The figure tilted his head. No weapon, no motion. Then he turned and vanished between buildings, faster than a man should move. Ray's hand dropped to his coat. His recorder was gone, snatched clean. Back at home, he found a single brushstroke painted across his mirror in black ink. Not a word, not a fret, just a symbol. His own name, written in Cantonese, but backwards. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. Rain hit the pavement in fat, deliberate drops. The kind of storm that didn't wash things away, just made them darker. Ray Young sat in a diner booth near Canal Street, a chipped mug of coffee in front of him, untouched. Across from him, Benny scrolled through a police scanner feed on a beat-up laptop, tapping a pencil nervously against the Formica table. You telling me you saw the Painted Man? Benny asked. Saw him. He took my recorder and left my name in ink, backwards. You know what that means, right? Yeah, I'm being hunted. No, Benny said quietly. You're being erased. They drove to the old warehouse marked on the orchid keeper's map. It sat like a rotting tooth at the edge of the East River. Chained doors, cracked windows, graffiti curling like fungus across its bricks. Ray cut the chain. Inside, the air was heavy with dust and something metallic, like old pennies and rusted blades. They found stairs leading down into what must have once been a cold storage room. But now, it was a shrine. Jade statues lined the walls, all faceless, all bowed. In the center, a stone basin, empty. Ray stepped forward. A drop of blood fell into the basin. Not his, fresh. He looked up. Symbols had been painted onto the ceiling in red. Not ink, not paint, blood. And at the base of the wall, a necklace. Delicate, orchid-shaped pendant. Malin's. He picked it up. Behind him, Benny said, Ray, you need to see this. In a side chamber, dozens of photographs were pinned to the walls. Black and white, some old, some recent. Every photo was of a girl, all standing in front of shrines, all with black ribbons around their wrists, all with a name inked beneath them in Chinese characters, and some crossed out in thick black brushstrokes. Ray scanned them. Then he found her, Malin, not crossed out, but the brush hovered just above her name, as if paused, waiting. This isn't about cults, Ray muttered. This is a ritual system, a pattern. Benny nodded. Every 10 years, always one girl, always in a city with a large Chinese population. Why girls? Because they were named after flowers. That's the link. Peony, lotus, orchid. Ray gritted his teeth. They're not sacrifices, they're offerings. To what? Ray stared at the wall. To memory. To whatever wants to claim people who don't anchor themselves. Benny backed away. We shouldn't be here. No, Ray said. We need to be exactly here, until we find out where she went. Then the lights flickered. A low hum rose from the stone basin. The jade statues began to tremble, and one by one, their faces appeared. Ray grabbed the pendant, pulled Benny by the arm, and ran. Outside, the rain had turned to hail, the kind that breaks windows and ribs. Ray didn't stop running until they were back in Benny's car, breath fog in the windshield. He stared at the pendant. She's not gone. She's not dead. She's between. Benny looked over. You think he can pull her back? Ray's knuckles whitened around the pendant. No, but I know someone who might. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. The Orchid Keeper lived above the old theater on Doyer Street, tucked between a defunct noodle shop and an herbalist who only dealt in whispers. Ray climbed the creaking stairs 2 at a time, the orchid pendant clutched in his fist like a talisman. She answered before he knocked. You went to the warehouse. You sent me. No, she said softly. I warned you. There's a difference. He stepped inside. The room was sparse. Bamboo floors. Paper lamps, a single shrine in the corner. But the shrine was strange. Empty. No incense, no candles, no offerings. Why is it bare? He asked. 'Cause I stopped believing. She walked to the altar, ran a finger across the dust. Belief feeds the boundary. Names hold the gate. When the world stopped naming things in reverence, it started losing them. Ray placed the pendant on the altar. Then help me find her, before she's lost too. They sat across from each other on floor cushions. The Orchid Keeper lit a single taper. I'll try to open the threshold, but you must go alone. And if she won't return willingly, you leave. Do you understand? Ray hesitated. Why me? 'Cause your name has power. Your blood is bound to both ends. She handed him a bowl of ink and a brush. Write it, your name, the old way. Ray dipped the brush and painted the characters carefully on his palm. Rang, Young. Now close your eyes. Speak her name. Once. Only once. He did. Mei Lin. The candle flickered sideways. Then silence. Then the room was gone. He stood in a field of black orchids under a sky without stars. Everything was too quiet. No wind. No breathing. Even his footsteps made no sound. Ahead, a figure. Mei Lin, standing at the edge of what looked like water, but shimmered like glass. Mei Lin, he called. She didn't turn, didn't move. He approached slowly. They keep calling me, she said, voice flat, telling me I don't belong anywhere. A lie, you belong to yourself. She turned. Her eyes were black, not empty, but reflective, like mirrors. I forgot my name. Ray held up his palm, showed her his. Then take mine, for now. Follow it back. She reached for him, fingers trembling. Then a hand closed around her wrist, the painted man, emerging from the glass. Ray stepped between them. She's not yours. The painted man tilted his head, reached for Ray's chest, and tapped it. Once, Ray's breath caught. Ink spread across his ribs, burning cold. Then, Wei gasped awake, soaked in sweat. The candle had burned down to ash. The Orchid Keeper stared at him. You made it back. He looked down. His palm was smudged, but in his other hand, Mei Lin's ribbon. Still warm. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. Ray Young didn't sleep for 2 nights. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Mei Lin's face, reflective and blank, like her soul had been wrapped in smoke. Worse, he felt something lingering inside him, a cold trace, as if the painted man had left a mark deeper than the ink. He needed answers, not metaphors, not stories. He needed someone who knew the line between ritual and reality. That meant only one person, Old Zhang. The retired monk lived on the 2nd floor above a dusty jade shop near Pell Street. No phone, no television, just books, scrolls, and an iron kettle always hot. Ray entered quietly. Zhang sat cross-legged on a cushion, eyes closed, as if he'd been expecting him. You walked the crossing, Zhang said. Ray sat opposite. Barely. Zhang opened one eye. What did you bring back? Ray held out Mei Lin's ribbon. Zhang's fingers hovered above it. Not just hers. Part of you stayed behind. That's how it works. Balance. How do I get it back? Zhang poured tea. You don't, but if you want to bring her whole soul back, you must show her what the spirits see. Ray frowned. And what do they see? Truth, in mirrors, in blood, in silence. Zhang instructed him to prepare a ritual at a shrine rarely used anymore, deep in Roosevelt Park, hidden behind overgrowth and concrete. There, Ray placed 3 items. Mei Lin's ribbon, the orchid pendant, a shard of the mirror that bore his backwards name. Zhang sat beside him, drawing a circle of salt. You must show her the memory she forgot. Which one? The first one, the one that made her afraid to return. As night fell, the ritual began. No fire, no chanting, only silence. And then, Fog. Not from the air, from inside the circle. Ray saw flashes, Mei Lin in a school uniform crying behind a temple, a man arguing with a father in Mandarin, a red envelope thrown into a fire, her mother whispering, "Some names are not meant to be said aloud." Ray knelt in the center of the circle. "Mei Lin, I saw it. I saw the shame, the guilt, the silence, but it's not yours to carry. Come back. Speak your name. I will speak it with you." Nothing. Then a wind, a whisper. "Young Mei Lin." A second ribbon fell from the fog into Ray's hand. Zhang exhaled. "You brought her closer. One more step, but he will not let go easily." The painted man. Zhang nodded. "He survives on lost names. And now you've taken one back." Ray looked down at his palm. The ink had begun to fade, but his name was still there. And next to it, hers. New York City, Chinatown, 1996. Ray Young had always believed that red meant protection. In Chinatown, red was life, paper lanterns, wedding scrolls, door charms against evil. But tonight, red meant something else. It bled. He stood at the mouth of a hidden passage below the old Bellflower Theater, the ribbon still clenched in his fist. Cora had called 30 minutes ago. Someone had broken into the library's folklore archive, left everything untouched except one page, the one with Malin's name. Inside the theater's undercroft, the walls pulsed with dim red light. Symbols glowed faintly across the bricks, not painted, but moving, as if alive beneath the surface. Ray pressed forward, each step heavier than the last. The painted man wasn't just near, he was waiting. At the end of the corridor stood a red veil. Behind it, chanting. Low, guttural, rhythmic, pulled the veil aside. The chamber beyond was round, marked by 6 jade pillars. In its center stood Mei Lin. Eyes closed, lips parted, in silence, surrounded by a ring of robed figures, their faces covered by masks of red paper. The orchid keeper stood just beyond the circle. Ray stepped forward. "Stop this!" One masked figure turned. She agreed. She forgot. That's not the same. The painted man emerged from the far shadow, taller than before, skin now shimmering with ink that moved like oil. His hand outstretched. The red ribbon floated from Ray's fingers, toward him. But Ray stepped into the circle. "You can't take her name," he said. "Not while mine still remembers." The painted man paused. "Then give it," he whispered. His voice was the sound of wet paper tearing. Ray looked to Mei Lin. Her lips moved. "Young." He took her hand, pressed her ribbon into her palm. Say it loud." "Young Mei Lin," she whispered. The red light flared. The masks turned away. The painted man screamed without sound and vanished. Ray awoke on the floor of the theater, dust in his lungs, pain in his chest. Mei Lin sat beside him, breathing slowly. Her eyes were clear. "You brought me back." "No," he said. "You followed your name home." Outside, dawn broke. Red, but this time the right kind. Lanterns glowed over storefronts. Smoke from bakeries drifted into the air. Mei Lin walked beside Ray in silence. "He'll come again," she said. Ray nodded. "Then we'll be ready." New York City, Chinatown, 1996. They said the fog would lift by morning. It didn't. It lingered in corners, clung to alleys, swirled around street lamps, like memory refusing to fade. But for once, Ray Young didn't mind. The city was always full of ghosts. The trick was knowing which ones were worth chasing. Mei Lin sat across from him at a rooftop cafe above Bayard Street. She stirred her tea quietly, eyes no longer hollow, no longer lost. A ribbon was now tied to her wrist again, solid red hers. "You don't have to stay," Ray said. "I don't have to run either," she replied. Below, Chinatown moved as if nothing had happened, but Ray knew better. So did she. The wound was closed but not healed. The painted man was gone for now, but the system that summoned him, the rituals that allowed such vanishings to occur, still breathed in hidden places. "What will you do now?" Mei Lin asked. Ray lit a cigarette, then thought better of it and let it burn in the ashtray. "Keep walking. Keep listening. There's more like you, I think. People who almost vanished. People worth pulling back." Mei Lin nodded. "Then I'll help." Cora published the story in an underground paper first, then digital. Then word spread. The headline read, "The Girl Who Named Herself Ritual disappearances in modern Chinatown. The police never officially commented. The mass figures were never caught. The painted man became a myth again. But myths don't die, they wait. Later that week, Ray returned to the empty altar. The orchid keeper was gone, so was Zhang. But the shrine had been cleaned, candles replaced. A nameplate said gently at the base, Young Mei Lin. He smiled, lit an incense stick. She's home. A breeze stirred the flame. Then, from the shadows, a whisper, not of warning, but of respect. Names hold power. Yours held too. Ray turned, no one there, just fog, and the sound of silk brushing stone.